welcome to the exciting conclusion of the 2023 BC Open presented by Discmania. This is round 3 action. This stop on the Canadian Disc Golf Tour is brought to you by your patrons of Park Pro, as always, and by PDGA Canada, doing so much for the sport of disc golf in Canada. Today's course is at the Campbell Valley course,
aka the Horsey Coursey, as the players were calling it. This is typically used for equestrian and horse jumping, all sorts of fun stuff like that. It has a course designed over top of it by the good people at InDesign, who are also responsible for Raptors Knoll. There's a lot of trees, there's a lot of open shots, a lot of great variety.
And our lead card here, Casey Hanemayer, friend of the show, friend of the podcast, friend of the Park Pro in general.
My friend Casey.
Yeah, our friend Casey. Currently sitting at -20. He's at the top of the leaderboard. And the guys behind him, he's fighting off Chris Nelson here, who had a hot round of -12 over at Raptors Knoll yesterday. If you haven't checked out that coverage, go check it out. Chris wasn't on the coverage, but he is today.
Yeah, I think he had one of those shredder hot rounds to boost him up onto the lead card. He's with Innova, Pound Disc Golf, and some others. And we've got Kirby Snyder as well, the Loft Disc Man.
And look at that. Straight face changing to a smile. Time to get serious.
Ooh, getting serious for the final round.
And rounding out our lead card, Scott Withers, -15. Didn't have the best day yesterday, but still managed to squeak out the lead card appearance.
Yeah, enough to stay on and stay competitive. He's got 5 strokes to make up if he wants to put his name on that BC Open trophy again.
Here we have hole 1. It's a par 3, 320 feet. This one seems pretty straightforward, but the jumps and whatnot can kind of play in your head a little bit, especially the one here at the basket.
Yes, this course not quite as well marked as the permanent course. What you don't see well is these orange flags you can maybe make out on the left side are a hazard the whole way. So the typical hyzer shot approach to this, if you get a bit too much skip, you can find yourself in that hazard in a hurry.
So you watch Casey Hanemayer kicking off round 3, likely going with his patent forehand.
Very safe, staying away from that hazard, but not the shot that he drew up in his head.
No, definitely leaving a bit of a putt there.
And so, yes, some danger as well. That putt will push him dangerously close to that hazard.
Got Chris Nelson up next with the backhand play a little low.
That's just a misfire from Chris.
Luckily, just skipping out.
Hey, I'm Kirby Snyder from Seattle, Washington. This is my signature series, Boreum. Boreum is a rounded rim driver. It's a 14-speed, 6-glide, -1 turn, and 3 fade. My run came out a little more understable than your classic runs, so it's better for your more amateur arms or your guys who aren't bombing, 450 plus. So go check out Kirby Snyder Boreum at loftdisc.com or emeraldcitydisc.com.
There you have it, Kirby Snyder with his own signature Boreum.
Yeah, I've heard they are a little bit understable, but I also heard they go forever. So if you need some extra distance in your game, check out Kirby's Boreum. Kirby landed on top of the jump. He should be 15 feet from the pin.
Yeah. Here's Scott with that forehand.
That's got to get stable. And it looks like
it does. And he does get enough, and that's a great shot from Scott.
Yeah, I think he maybe wanted just a sniff more height on that, or maybe a sniff less angle, but definitely throwing the shot that Casey was thinking about throwing. And Casey doesn't care.
Even matter for Casey. Look at that putt.
Big putt to start the day. Good way to get the momentum going and get the blood flowing, get in the game.
Yeah, and Casey's already on hole 1. You can kind of tell he's just got that dialed in look.
Yeah, one thing that's impressive about Casey, other than the skills he has with throwing the disc, is he's always a competitor.
Kind of a funky little putt from Chris there, having to compete with that chain there.
There are some holes on this course where the jumps, chains, and bumps can definitely play a factor in your ability to throw.
And, Scott, hate to see that.
That's not the Scott that I know, and that's not the start that he wants. There's really no excuse for that putt.
We watched Kirby put in his birdie with no issues. keeping pace with Chris and Casey ahead of him. So
Reckon the star frame for the boys on hole 1, but hopefully that is not an omen of holes to come. Scott needs to put in some good work here to take that lead.
we watch this great putt from Casey.
Yeah, good pace. He typically doesn't have a very pitchy putt. It's always quite direct, and he gets it to fade at the perfect time, not to go too far and get in trouble with that hazard.
Here we have hole 2. It's a par 4, 650 feet. This one's an interesting one. You kind of play straight where these folk here are lining up their shots, and kind of an ideal landing spot is just around the corner here and setting you up well for the approach here.
Yeah, absolutely. Any shot that lands in the shadow of that tree through the gap will give you the opportunity to attack this basket. Everything that you see there that is gravel, I believe, is OB or hazard?
I believe hazard, off the top of my head, except for obviously on the top area, just a little bit gray there, but that is inbounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So it makes that putt challenging. It makes that throw challenging. The other thing here is that unfortunately, they did a very poor job of leveling these tee pads. As you can see how bumpy that AstroTurf is. Casey smartly, getting confirmation before that we didn't have to throw from the tee boxes, as they were absolute ankle breakers on a couple of these holes. Chris lining up far enough back that he's also probably not going to throw from the tee pad. Oh, he does.
With the really long walk up, that's all.
He's got his routine, and he throws a pretty good shot.
He does a great job with that one. That's kind of the ideal landing position there.
The other thing about this hole that's important to know is there are very, very thorny bushes on both sides. So any shot that you throw in there, you may elect to rethrow just by virtue of your inability to get into your disc without losing an eye, arm, shirt, or otherwise.
Skin on your shins.
Yeah. Our friend Ben threw in there in practice trying to throw over the top, which I'm guilty of egging him on to do. And then I had to help him get his disc out, and I was bleeding like you wouldn't believe.
Good guy, Jesse.
Oh, Scott.
Always there to help a guy.
Yeah, Scott
might need some help.
But that's holding maybe a bit too long. He was definitely trying to go over the top for some crazy guy action.
Yeah, trying to get aggressive here, and it's still going to end up a pretty good shot. So
still a great shot, just not getting the left angle that he was hoping to get closer to the basket.
There you go.
You hear it from Scott. Yeah, there you go. Is he just trying to leave this one left enough that he doesn't skip into that danger zone? Keeping it tight enough to the basket is important, as long putts here must be very, very nervy. Wow.
And he just gets that one to stick. One thing that can come into play as well, you see here, the grass is a little bit long, but it is on the more dead side. So, your ground action definitely comes into play.
Yeah, you can definitely get some play. This is going to be on the other side. Wow.
Yeah, I'm kind of lucky there.
A little lucky, maybe intentional, so you can putt over it instead of at it.
Yeah.
And you can see those flags whipping pretty good. There is enough wind that it does affect your decision making on your shots.
Stop pulling this one a little bit further to the left, but it works out really well for him.
Yeah, that's another great shot.
We see Chris here. This is my first time watching Chris play, so
that's nice. I like that shot. You can see the intent on it.
Yeah.
Where he wanted to land it, executes it perfectly to how he had it thought up.
Staying for the pylon, and that's exactly what he hit. So
there you go. Kirby putting over now.
Not quite getting enough on that one. Watch Scott put in his birdie. And looks like Casey and Chris will do the same.
Yeah, they made that upshot look easy, and I promise you, it certainly is not, especially at the distance you're looking at that shot from. You're still probably 250 feet away.
Yeah.
Having to execute that cleanly in the wind that's moving those branches around in the background.
Yeah, and you saw the coastal mountains in the background. This is just a gorgeous location for a temporary course, and I do believe it's exclusive to the BC Open, is it not?
Yeah, like I said, it's an equestrian society day to day, so it's mostly used for horses. but I think it's only open for play during BC Open. They have to jump through a lot of hoops here with environmental impact of what they're doing, I've heard. And really a great job to design the course on there. I hate to say it, but if horseback riding got less popular in the lower mainland and this could be a course all the time, I think we might have something really good on our hands.
Yeah, that would be great to see. But for now, just gonna stick to watching on Park Pro coverage.
Absolutely.
Or playing in it if you're in the tournament. So hole 3, par 4, 760 feet. This one's a fun little hole.
Yeah, you can usually try and throw a disc that's going to hyzer so that you have a straight approach into the basket here. One mistake that some people did was throwing a disc that maybe is a little less stable. And if you end up on the right side of those large trees, accessing this green area is very, very challenging. However, good placement off the tee makes this one a bit of a no-brainer with the quality of the field that we have.
Yep. And off of his 2 birdies to start, we see Casey Hanemayer burning a backhand a little bit low, but looks like it's going to play pretty well.
Yeah, like I said, if it lines up for that gap, you're in no trouble at all, and Casey's done that.
Just Chris losing his hat, but not his focus as he gets this one to go. And
that looks great as well.
Yeah. Out into the open field. Yeah, this shot is this hole is really all about your up shot on this one, because as long as you get nice and clean off your first.
So if Scott's holds too much turn, this could get very dangerous. Get left. You hear him yelling for it to get left, but it does.
See if Kirby can put something similar up.
That might be his signature boreum. He was talking about being a little too stable or understable, and that is the spot on the right side of the trees I was talking about.
Yeah.
Kirby gotten himself out of a couple sticky situations through the coverage we've seen him on. I'm not sure that this will be any greater challenge than he's already faced.
I'm going to go wide and to the left here. That was there was a Mando there? Is that?
I don't believe there was a Mando there. Okay. There's one of these holes that does and one that doesn't, but you don't get any benefit from going to the right side where Kirby was. He blasts it into another tree and drops in the circle, so he's in good shape.
So we see Casey lining this one up real nice. Getting a little deep.
Yeah, he was yelling for it to sit. Hopefully he's not under too many branches there.
Just getting the range. Of course, he is looking down at the basket from this vantage point as well.
This looks good. He'll get a little skip off that dead grass and catching chains on the sidearm skip.
Let's take a look at that slow-mo replay. Oh, just off the edge of the basket. That's nuts.
Getting all the body language on it. I love it.
Yeah. Could have used that one, being just a stroke down from Casey. See, watch.
I'll do the same thing.
Yeah, Scott putting that one in perfectly.
Oh, see, I thought Kirby hit a different tree. This is a great challenge. Smartly just kind of laying it up.
Yep, taking his medicine, as they say.
It's still a par.
And depending on what Casey does here, may not lose too much. Casey puts this a little bit short. Didn't quite have the commitment.
Yeah, I think that branch might have been in his hands, and you get that awkward release point that's lower or higher than you're used to. Scott makes good on his birdie.
Likely to see Chris do the same from that distance. Then cleaning up their pars. Casey.
We're all tied up in the lead again.
Yeah, and I mean, if the last couple of rounds have been any indication, it's going to play out that way for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen leaders change quite a few times, and there is no next round. Fix your mistakes. This is the last dance.
Yeah, and there you have it. Chris and Casey at the top, minus 22. Kirby at minus 19. Scott keeping pace, minus 17. Carter jumping back at minus 16. Danny and Trevor at minus 15th. Shade, Isaac, and Eric Lee at minus 13. Don't forget to advertise on the Canadian Disc Golf Tour coverage. We also have off-season coverage, podcasts, and a lot more for you guys to advertise on.
Yeah, it's a great way to reach a specific Canadian disc golf audience. There is no other pro coverage in the country. Does that make us the best pro coverage in the
I
country?
think that does make us the best pro coverage in the country. Hole 4, par 3, 240 feet. This one plays uphill, so it seems like a shorter hole, but the uphill can cause you some challenge.
Yeah, just throw a hyzer up the hill. It's a very straightforward hole. The part that gets a bit complicated is making the putt from one of the sides that either has the wood rail on it or trying to navigate that chain when you've got one that's really close can make your putt very, very uncomfortable.
That there is the typical play, and Chris maybe got a little bit more on that than what he wanted.
Yeah, the hole is only 240, but it does not show how uphill this hole is on camera, as well as standing there in real life. It is very, very uphill.
So we see Scott putting this one on
Run on
hyzer.
it?
Could run. So what Casey can do.
I think this is his PA1, so he's probably seeing them throw long and not trying to go so far.
That's exactly what he does, and maybe leaving this one a little bit too short.
He's the closest so far, but yes, you can definitely improve on that. I think the play that works the best is one that just skips in from the right side and hits the wall. But
See if Kirby can put that together. Almost what he did.
Almost what
that
he did.
looks great. That's about as perfect. He doesn't even have that chain to contend with.
Yeah, he finds the corner.
Chris just get a little bit too much air under that one and pushed over to the left.
Yeah, this is one of those ones like any elevated hole. You can definitely play back and forth around and rack up a high number in a hurry if you aren't on your putts. No issue for Scott, though. In for his birdie.
Yeah, getting some love off the cage.
The other thing that was interesting was that hole had no steps or stairs to get up on that platform. So our Masters players might have been cursing the designers.
There's a par putt from Chris, making a great comeback as you see him coming down off the step list.
Casey in for his bird.
He has no problem. He just probably
He
like
just
a
steps
regular
up.
step.
Yeah,
for
it's
him.
a regular stair
Yeah.
for somebody his size. Oh, no.
Kirby. That's unfortunate. You know that's one that he wants back. He's not feeling good about that one.
He seems to be a guy that putts and plays very fast.
Yeah.
And you never want to break a guy out of his routine, but maybe just a half-second focus. Take that putt a little more seriously would have gone a long way there for him.
Take another look at Scott's drive here. This one up nicely. How close was he? That close. He had the line right just a little bit over the band.
You know, some groups had been out on the course for almost a full hour already. By this point, pace of play was very, very slow, and you can see that on this course there's a lot less shade than there is out at Raptors. Managing your body today is a big, big part of being successful.
Yeah. So we take a look at hole 5. It's a par 4, 640 feet. Just got to squeeze it through here and get this upshot around these trees, or maybe the drone was going to fly through there for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. This hole does have a Mando on the last tree on the right. Guys will still throw out to the right side, hoping to come back into the fairway. Otherwise, a lot of them will just throw one straight up the middle. I saw putters to the first fence. I saw full drivers out to the outside. I saw full driver hyzer flips up the middle. There's a lot you can do on this hole.
Here's Scott electing to throw from behind the tee pad again.
And he's throwing that straight shot. It just seems to hyzer out a bit at the end for him.
Yeah, and it could be pretty tricky in there as well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. If it got past that massive tree. Yeah. I don't know if it hit it or didn't.
There's Casey.
far as I know, he'll be doing something similar to what Scott just did. We played some practice together.
Hopefully with better results.
No, he's playing out wide this time, but this is the out wide play that comes in short. There's another play that pushes that shot almost another 100 feet to challenge the Mando. And that might be what Chris has done here.
Yeah.
Negating all the trees, just needing to make sure he comes in short enough.
That's a tricky situation because if you do land too far to the right, then you are cut off.
Oh yeah, it's very specific with that long one that pushes out to the right. And that's... Oh no, this is a very stable disc from Kirby. Oh wow.
Very stable.
That's coming back in short.
Short and to the left, and that's going to be in a tricky spot because, as you can see here, it's got to go around this first big clump of trees.
It looks like he left it inside of how he wanted to throw it with such a stable disc. And now he's left with this sidearm flex shot, and we have not seen a ton of sidearm out of him this weekend.
Puts it kind of to the right side, but he should have a bit of an out from there.
Yeah, he's left more on that than he wanted, especially with that cut roll.
Scott
plays this perfectly.
Yeah, that's a great play.
A little wide, actually. Looked great. Still maybe a bit of a putt you have to make.
Yeah, you have to wonder how his footing was in those bushes as well. Casey, fortunately catching the one tree in the way.
Yeah, he's in one of those semi-awkward spots where you're not far enough right to go the other way, but you're not far enough left to have easy access to the basket from the main fairway.
Kirby with the second forehand in a row. He hits the same tree.
That's one of those trees where you can almost say, if I aim at that tree, I'll miss and I'll go inside or outside and it doesn't matter. And then you end up hitting the tree.
Yep.
Chris leaves his wide, making sure he doesn't hit the tree, but not the result he wants either.
Here's a great upshot from Kirby, putting this one just past the basket.
And yeah, probably an effort to try and get that one in to stop the bleeding a bit.
Casey. This is a little bit of a half bit as well.
Yeah, just short. A great effort.
Here's Chris. Just a little bit wide to the right.
It's one he's probably used to making most of the time.
There's Scott.
Scott with the stepper, too.
Great step putt.
It's been just outside the circle. I'm the foot fault police, so I'll be watching those from now on. But that one did look pretty clean.
It looked pretty clean, yeah.
Very deliberate motion, not something that's easily mistaken.
Casey puts in his par as Kirby puts in his bogey, and Chris should have this one a basket for par as well.
Yep, making sure that one goes in, keeping it within one of Casey.
It's tight.
I wasn't paying attention enough to call it after I said I was going to be the football police, but it looked good.
It looked good.
And it's definitely going to be hard to call it here no matter what with the length of the grass.
Yeah, exactly. Hole 6, par 3, 335 feet. Yeah, put a forehand up and try to get it and land it in here if you have it. And if you don't, then a bit of a turnover.
Yeah, you can still see the basket from the tee, but it's not in such a way that you can access it with a backhand that has much fade of any kind. You'll see backhand turnovers or flex shots, but most of these guys are just going to pop a sidearm up there and let it fall into the position.
Scott looks like he's lining up the forehand, and as you can see, he's putting together a decent round here.
Yeah, if he stays on this pace, he will definitely be in contention, and a shot like that leaves him with a very makeable putt.
Casey putting his forehand up. Putting it right under the basket.
Leaning it on the base.
That's a fantastic shot from Casey.
Casey really is a whole package disc golfer, but one of his shining abilities is his sidearm.
See if Chris can put this one close to keep pace with Casey.
And he does.
He does. Have no problems with that one. Here's Kirby. They're taking a bogey. Falling off the...
This one might be short and inside, and you do not want to be in that tree. This is going to be patent pending reach around just to get anything you can throw at the basket.
Yeah. Got that hydrogen in his hand there. Just miscue on that one.
Doing almost everything you can do with such an angle, but definitely not as close as he could have put it. Doesn't matter.
Gets his par.
Yeah, you don't want a bogey on that hole, and it can arrive if you end up in those trees.
We watch Scott here. Getting in a good birdie and keeping that good round going. He's one missed putt away from being 6 down through 6.
Yeah, Scott always a competitor, great competitive spirit. He's not quitting until the last putt goes in.
So we watch Chris put his putt in as well. Keeping pace with Casey. Also, this is drop in birdie. Casey opting to go with the pure black bucket hat over the...
No. That's the same bucket hat, and it's reversible. It's still got cow print underneath.
Yeah.
You hear those guys as they're walking off talking about the stability difference there, which maybe we'll talk about after we check in with the scoreboard.
Here we have Casey Hanemayer, as we said, minus 24. Chris Nelson, minus 23. Scott climbing, catching him, minus 20. Carter and Kirby at minus 18. Danny and Trevor at minus 15. Nicholas and Eric at minus 14. And Max climbing back to the top 10, minus 13.
Yeah, after a really, really good bounce back after that first round did not go the way he wanted to. Anyway, those guys were chatting as they got off the tee about the stability of the disc. Casey playing here in the Rocky Mountains at about 3,500 feet. You notice a significant drop in stability when you come here to the lower mainland, closer to sea level.
Yeah, as we take that into hole 7, par 4, 625. Definitely something you have to keep in mind, as this one's one of the longer holes, and it does play uphill as well. And OB on the left-hand side, so displacement is key.
Yes, as you see, the marking is a bit harder to see on the temp course, but those flags do show OB and hazard. Coming into this tight, protected uphill green, most people will be playing a layup halfway around the fairway and then trying to throw some kind of sidearm or turnover that comes into the green here. I believe the left side was OB, but the right side was hazard.
Yeah. See Scott put this one up, and looks like he's leaking OB.
Yeah, that's very, very common with how uphill it was. You gotta rip something, and you do want to be on the left side of the open fairway to give yourself the best opportunity to access the green. Very common mistake from Scott. Casey leaving his way wider.
Playing that one really safe, quite a bit short.
Yep, short, but the dead middle of the fairway is safe as it gets.
See what Chris does here. Putting this one out wide as well. Low as well. And similar play to Casey.
Just a little closer to that hazard line and a little bit harder angle to get into that green from.
As you can kind of see the basket to the left of Kirby here. So further off to the right it is, the more challenging a shot.
Yeah, all the guys pulling out a bit to the right. There were some plays to try and push it to the end of the OB, just to this angle, maybe where the camera is now. But that takes a real rip on a disc and a lot of trust. Kirby now going to have a tough time getting all the way in there to the basket. As you can see, you can't see the pin, and it is kind of trapped in those trees.
And as we've watched a lot from Kirby, he's electing to go with the backhand play.
That 3 feet shorter gets under the tree, and you're in the circle. That was very close to a great shot from that angle.
Yeah. Casey likely to make quick work with that forehand.
Putting the gas on it, getting it all the way up there.
Absolutely gorgeous upshot from Casey. Perfect placement through the gap. Lands it on the lower side of the hill and just skips right up to the basket.
I certainly didn't see anybody do it that well all weekend.
We watch Chris maybe putting this one a little bit too long and to the left.
No, he got through.
Just manages to squeak through. That's great. himself a chance to putt to keep pace with Casey on that one.
Yeah, maybe just about circle's edge. Scott trying to negotiate his position here. He's also got a great sidearm. He's very capable of putting it up there. And you can see that you can actually see the basket from this angle. It is a great advantage to be that far to the left off the tee. Wow.
Unfortunately, the out-of-bounds stroke is not what you want, but...
No. He's going to be bummed that he played his 2 throws that well, but, scooting the first one out of bounds.
You see Kirby just load this one up, and I'd say maybe a little bit of a half bid there.
Yeah, doing what he can from that angle.
Scott and Casey are going to drop theirs in before letting Chris go for his putt. Just high. You can see the wind maybe picking up a little bit on him there.
Yeah, absolutely. That level of hyzer he put on that putt must have just got some wind under the plate and kept it up and over.
Mm-hmm.
See if he flattens this one out, or just add some pace maybe. Both,
yeah. So Casey getting out of there with the only birdie on the card.
Probably one of the more challenging holes on the course versus par, but if you execute your game plan, you can do it.
Yeah, this is playing as the second hardest hole
on
the course. Casey, one of only 7 people to get the birdie.
Sure, big numbers can rack up in a hurry if you find the OB and then get into the trees.
Hole 8, it's coming back down. This is a par 3, 280 feet. This is OB on the right-hand side?
I believe
It's OB or hazard. I think there was some confusion at one point, but it does get kind of tight here at the green, as you can see the drone coming over to the right-hand side. It tightens, it stays tight for the majority, and then it kind of widens into the circle one.
Yeah, they give you about a circle 1 ring, maybe closer to 25 feet. Most people will throw a hyzer over the OB, but as we talked about, there's a bit of wind today. Clean from Casey.
It's a great shot from Casey, playing the high side, putting down at the hazard. So
putting down at the hazard is definitely the challenge when you don't get it close enough to the basket. Once you get out to that 35-foot mark, especially if you're on the uphill side, those red flags start staring you in the face in a hurry.
So we see Scott playing the safe play, getting up a little bit further up on the hill than maybe he would have liked. But
and he's in that scary putting position. Close enough for these guys that you can't really lay that up, or at least it's hard to justify the layup when you know how good a player you are, especially the group of talent we have here.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to take your medicine.
Yeah. Chris in a somewhat of a similar position, maybe a little more straight onto it, but we watch Kirby sailing this one up and to the left as well.
That's as dangerous as it gets, I think.
Yeah, there's just a certain distance where it makes more sense to do the layup.
Yeah, and there we see it. Scott here looking like he's going to take a little more aggressive bid, and let's see if it pays off for him.
And Scott's tournament, he's 5 strokes down. It's one he kind of had to go for, so
yeah.
Luckily staying in bounds there. Watch Chris.
What a strange putt end reaction.
Fortunate to have that one kick out.
Just high and right, but Scott in for his par.
And we'll see if Casey can take advantage here.
Yeah, extending his lead early. There are some very challenging holes to come. And he does.
Yep. Gets that birdie to drop. Brings him to minus 26 on the tournament. As Kirby puts in his par. And Chris will look like he'll do the same. Fortunate for Chris with the kick out.
Kick out and stick, though.
Yeah.
Losing a stroke instead of 2, because that can pick up and roll so quickly.
For sure. Scott also getting away with one maybe with the missed putt, but staying in bounds. So we watch Casey putting that one in.
Dead center, laser focused.
Yeah. Speaking of harder holes to come, hole 9.
Must be the hardest hole on the course.
Playing as the hardest hole on the course.
Maybe my favorite hole on the course as well. 530 feet here. You're going to want to throw a backhand turnover or flex shape to navigate this little zigzag in the middle. You can also throw a sidearm that starts to bail out right here and settles down. That should give you, hopefully, enough angle to navigate this tricky section of fairway and settle into this protected green. Your first shot is so important to set you up for success so that you can slide one up underneath this canopy for an attempt at the birdie.
Yeah, this is just this was one of my favorite holes to watch and just see the different processes that people go through.
Yeah, absolutely. This one, very challenging shape, but also because of how thick the rough is. Can't stress enough that this is a temporary course and that if you put one in the trees here, you're climbing in, not walking in.
Casey kind of putting that one a little bit low.
Low, but not in the trees. He's got a lot of work. Potentially enough work that birdie's already out of the question.
Here's Scott.
Scott leaves his left, maybe hoping for a good kick out, but
Not looking like he'll get it.
Spotter's walking. Chris with that flex shape. That's got to come back a little bit.
And this is that challenge. If you get too far to the right, as you can see there, he's kind of cut off by that second clump of trees.
As long as he hasn't gone too far, he will have some kind of look at it. But again, very challenging from there. Kirby with the backhand as well. See how stable this one is.
Kind of getting a good kick off the bushes there. And
yeah, great reaction and the best position of the group for sure.
we watch Casey proceed to his disc. Prodigy sponsored player. Going over top. Looked like he quite got the angle right. Watch Scott venture into the trees.
Yeah, he's going to do the climb in, and this makes getting out throwing your disc out just as challenging as walking in. Luckily not in too deep. You can see, yeah, that's fine. You can't really expect much more out of there.
Yeah. Casey shooting 3. As I do believe made it to the edge of the trees.
Scott looking straight at it. The wind definitely playing a factor in the decision making. Whether most guys would want to throw, like that's a stable disc thrown hard. I think it's the best way to navigate the wind. A lot of people may be thinking a lot of hyzer flip, straight pushing shapes that definitely don't fare as well with the conditions.
Get money.
Get it. Wow.
Great shot.
Capitalizing on his good fortune off the tee.
Here's Chris just not getting over on it enough.
Yeah, just that much closer to that island of trees, making it such a harder angle, having to commit so much anhyzer to get around and give yourself any chance. Casey with pitch out number 4.
Yeah, that's tough.
You might be throwing bogey after that. It's still 100 feet out.
We watch Chris with the nice touchy forehand. Should be close enough that he should be able to get that one to drop.
Getting a lot of work done from it either. That's a great shot. If Casey can stop the bleeding, it's got to come inside the bushes for him to have a putt, and it does.
Yeah, that's been a tough hole for Casey.
You might have just made this a disc golf tournament.
Yeah. Jumping out to the early lead for the round, but giving a few strokes back as we watch Scott put in his bar on the left side of the chains.
Yeah, a Withers par and a Nelson birdie. And Kirby as well. Really changes the dynamic of this card going forward because I believe that's double.
Double bogey for Casey, and he's a little bit disappointed by it, but see if he can shake that off. Lucky to only give up 2 strokes to Casey there.
Yeah, it's a different game now after the front 9.
Great birdie from Kirby. Take a look at Kirby there. Take a look at a scoreboard with Casey Hanemayer still on top by a stroke over Chris. Scott hanging in there at -20. Kirby at -19. Carter making his way up -18. Colin and Trevor at -16. Max, Isaac, and Danny all at -15.
Yeah, great group of players in our top 10 here. Shout out to all those guys. Shout out to Danny, who actually managed to save my disc golf bag at the Tournament Capital Open. Great guy. Isaac, I haven't met before, but he is in the hunt, and the rest of those guys all have the ability to make something magic happen on the back 9.
Stay tuned for the back 9 because this one, it's gearing up to be an exciting one.